Want to introduce you to June for the few people here who haven't yet met her. She is kind of, she's our dance sister in a way, because like us, she's been traveling around the world, teaching, leading groups, choreographing and sharing her dances, and very much working with the kind of the inner journey of the dance as well as the entertainment aspect of it. So I'm very happy that she's agreed to give me an introduction this evening. Over to you, June.
Thank you, Stefan. It seemed quite strange to me to be introducing Stefan as if he needs any introduction. He's so well known all over the world and so loved, and I'm sure you all know him very well, probably mostly as a dance teacher and choreographer. Amazingly, I mean, the numbers of his choreographies, I think they're well over 100, probably 150, something like that. Extraordinary. And the great thing about them is, for me, is that they have meaning to them. They're not just knees up, you know, they have depth, which I love. So he has so many hats, though, or maybe I should say strings to his bow. Apart from dance teacher and choreographer, he is a wonderful musician, as I'm sure you know. 7 instruments he plays, 7. And he does not run a choir. I made a mistake with that this morning. He coordinates a band. He creates songs. He's just full of energy. Absolutely amazing. And if I start looking at all the hats that he wears or the strings that he has to his bow, I just feel exhausted looking at them because I don't know where he finds the energy. It's extraordinary. But he is, apart from the music and the dance, he is a social activist. He makes films. Let me think, there's so many things, they're going out of my head now, but like far more than I ever knew till I started looking at what actually he is capable of doing. And he's a master wordsmith, as we know. Apart from this book, he's a wonderful poet. We had a great poetry evening with him not long ago online, which was tremendous. And so he's been traveling the world for decades now, spreading the love of the dance and joy of the dance. And also his background is social science. So he's bringing in that depth of connection that he's making, of people, bringing people together is one of his great gifts. And this commitment, social activism commitment, plus his easygoing personality, a very accessible personality, and his wonderful sense of humor and his ability to connect with people all over the place. It's natural that he brings people together into community, which is one of his great loves, and to heal, also to be healing. This is all through dance, mainly anyway, to be healing rifts between people, between communities, between religions, between countries. Yes, so now added to all his list of amazing attributes, he is also now an author, and a wonderful author of an amazing book, which when I read it, I thought, oh gosh, we've been waiting for this for so long. The network has needed this. I think that's the cue to hand over to the man of the moment. So Stefan, the floor is yours.
Oh, June, thank you. Well, that's my head can hardly fit in the room anymore. Look, Bethan's almost off the screen now. Come back. Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for coming and supporting this kind of birth ceremony with some readings and hopefully some fun and information. Really lovely to hear those words. I don't know whether I can really quite step into those boots, but they're all my aspirations for sure. And we've got people here, I'm really happy to say, from Australia, Canada, Chile, Israel, my lovely aunt, South Africa, Sweden, UK, and USA. And have I missed anyone out?
Yes, Marika, Holland.
Marika from Holland, of course, yes. So it's a one thing that I love about any Zoom meeting, for any reason or excuse, is this friendship aspect and sort of international connections. We live in a world where we see in the news a lot of fragmentation, division, and misunderstanding. It's lovely when things come together with a sense of being open and, yeah, friendship. So what I'd like to do, if you don't mind, before we do any sort of information about the book, is just to have a kind of a little, depending on the word that you like, a little blessing or good vibe, to launch this project, which has been, it started about 4.5 years ago, just to launch it into the world. It's been a long pregnancy, and it's just lovely to see this thing exist. I forgot to bring my book copy down, Bethan.
I'll bring it.
Yeah, oh, Bethan will be back in a minute. She's reading it. She has to. So what I want to say at this point, just before we do that, it's a collaborative work. More than most books, you will see substantial quotes from other teachers and other writers in that book, and particularly people who are working in with specific groups out in the community, whether it's children, whether it's people with dementia. I found that very interesting. So I've been lucky enough that other teachers have sent me articles about their work, and I've been able to quote them in the book. And then the book has a companion website, which then has very often a longer article by each of those people. There wasn't room for everything within the pages of one volume, but the website is like a continuation of the book. So yeah, thank you, Bethan. That's the book. So nice to have one in my hand, finally. Got through the Amazon hurdle course, and it really exists. So this project represents the work of a lot of people, and it has a life of its own in communicating the therapeutic potential of dance and music in many different settings. That was the primary aim of it. So here's our little candle with a robin. Just going to ask you to take a few seconds to think of this as like a little baby book that's going to grow up and go out into the world, and we hope contribute to all the good things that are happening. Blow with me. I always love this. You get, if you can see the smoke on the screen, I love that. I don't know if you can. So what we'd like to do over the next roughly hour and a quarter is give you an overview of the book, dive into the actual specifics and do a few readings from the book, throw in a song, because it's always nice to have a song. And I don't know if you were here when I mentioned it, but where it says iPad, don't believe it, that's actually Auntie Evelyn Chenkin, who lives in Israel and is an author and poet. So I've twisted her arm to do a guest poem, which happens to be about dance, and we'll have that in a little while. So we've got a lot to look forward to, and at the end, I hope, if we can time it right, there'll be time for a few questions or observations. So the intention is pretty much what I've told you about, and it's got different components. There's a lot in the book about therapeutic applications of dance with different groups, people recovering from addiction, people recovering from strokes, children, teenagers in conflict with the law. There are different teachers working with these groups and finding really inspiring results. Now, if you can see Bernice, who's here, I'm going to embarrass her for a moment, because when we met Bernice, one thing that interested me very much was that she'd worked for many years in what do you call it? Well,
psychiatric.
Thank you. Thank you. The words just left my mind. So it was a psychiatric center where some people had quite severe challenges, and she offered circle dance there to see how it might be received, and the results were really well. I thought the results were very inspiring. So Bernice and other teachers around the world, quite a few from Brazil, have been working in the community in different ways, are part of the therapeutic dimension of the book. There's another dimension which is pleasurable. There's some lovely artwork, there are poems, there are I hope, just coming at dance from different angles to give you a sense of how it might impact on us as people. For me, it's been part of my journey of discovering myself and emerging into a much more outgoing person. Perhaps even, I've always been creative, but I think it's given me a lot of confidence to do that, to put that out into the world. There's a practical aspect which was added fairly late on, which is exercises at the end of each chapter that you could do at home, and you could do even if you've never danced before. And these exercises introduce you to a wide range of suggested, recommended music. So it's a musical journey, and it gives you some way, if you're in lockdown and you don't have access to a dance group, or even if you've never danced before and think I might dip a toe in, it gives you some starting points. So let me just come back to my program here. I think what we'll do before we do any more of the overview, to keep it lively, is we'll dive in. And the very first thing you see before chapter 1 is called Preamble, and the subtitle is The Invisible Dance. So how can a dance be invisible? Well, it's the dance that goes on inside us. It's what happens in our imagination, feelings, our senses, sensations. Sometimes it's a feeling of connecting or reconnecting with things evoked by the music and the movements, or sometimes there's a story in the dance. So it's everything that's going on inside. Nobody else can see it. And after exploring that idea for a little while in that preamble, there is a sort of a fantasy that I wrote called The Invisible Dance, which Bethan is going to kindly read for us. A little closer.
Thank you. The Invisible Dance. Some guests were shabby, others tailored, some business grey, others hippie chic, pearls or tattoos, high heels or sport shoes. A kind of defensive giggle was circulating as we waited for the free sampler. We were all asked to slip jackets off and then stand for the invisible dance. Nobody responded. That should have been that. Just one couple divested themselves of coats. Were they plants? But like a Mexican wave, we all started to do likewise. That was when darkness cloaked us, and I saw an opportunity to back out. I could slip away, wrapped in shadows, and nobody would ever know or care. And that should have been that. But serpentine music slinked in to hypnotize me and slowly coiled itself around my legs. When it released me, I was lost. My foot was already tapping, Treacherous hips were swaying, and figments of candle flame were dancing on my retina. The invisible dance caught me in its firm embrace and spun me around, stealing my inhibitions, binding me, the willing sacrifice, in a web of wonders. Now, when I hear certain music, there is no negotiation, and that is that. The invisible dance arises, and my body must follow.
And I guess that's how dancing started for me. It was the music that captivated me. David, who's here, we were chatting a little earlier. We used to write songs together at school, and honestly, it was probably one of the most nourishing things that I did in all those years, and it sort of stoked up my love for music. And certain kinds of music just got into me and made me feel I had to move. So I did find myself getting drawn to some of the unusual qualities of international folk music. There was Israeli dance, there was Balkan and East European dance, and the music was different from other stuff I'd heard, and I wanted to move to it. And I guess that got me into dancing. And the first chapter in the book is called Clunky to Slinky, because I was a clumsy kid and I didn't feel, yeah, that's Lois's lovely drawing. She's done black and white sketches for the inside. The person who did the cover of the book, Lois, has also done sketches which we've used throughout the book. So I didn't feel like that cat when I was young. I felt like I was rather a clunky alien in my body. And very gradually through dancing, I think I've come to feel that I can at times be things that I never imagined I could have been, like graceful, poised, balanced, slinky. Is this possible? Yes, it is. It's such a delight to embody those things. The first chapter of the book suggests that everybody can dance, and especially when we stop thinking about competitions and rights and wrongs, and when we think of it as part of our birthright.
Oh, there's Zane.
Oh, Zane, welcome. Good to see you. Fantastic.
Grandson.
Now Zane,
Daughter Lucci.
Zane here is a very creative person, very multi-talented, and we're very honoured to have you here today. So that's the first chapter, and the second chapter is all about dance and self-acceptance. And the third chapter is all about dancing with children. It's called Little Bounders. Fourth chapter, we go back to the roots. It's called Digging Up Roots. There's a nice picture for that with the urn, the bars one. So we're not just talking about the origins of circle dance, which has been my main métier, but we're talking about the very origins of dance, from the clues that we have from old bits of pottery and so on. It's a very ancient thing, and the book traces the ancient history, then looks at the more recent history, including how circle dance came into being. I won't say much about that here, but it's all in the book. The next chapter is a whimsical one, but I'm going to pause because I've got a feeling that this would be a good moment, Aunt Evelyn. This might be a good moment for your poem. And I also want you to have a chance to do it before the night gets, because in Israel, you're ahead of us. It's getting late. Before it gets too late, we'd like to give you a chance. So I'm so honored. And Evelyn, I don't know whether you've met Luciana and Zane. Can you see them in a different picture? But that's our lovely daughter and grandson there.
No, I can't.
The lady who's talking is my auntie. That's my dad's sister, who lives in Israel on a kibbutz, and she's a poet and a writer. Fantastic. Bravo, Evelyn.
Oh, it's Stefan, I can't believe that I'm talking to you. You know, I can't believe that I'm as old as I am, let alone talking to you.
Do you want to say how old you are?
I'm 98.
Well,
98.
fantastic. You're so youthful. I'm with it.
But it's so lovely to see you both. first of all, Stefan, I've known you since you were born. No, not since you were born. You came here a year, I think you were a year old when you came.
10 months, when my parents, who were living on a kibbutz, came back to England, where at that time Evelyn and her family were living.
Yes, and well, you know, it's lovely because I've known you boys for so long, and it's so wonderful to see you. And Bethan, I adore you, so it's lovely to see you too.
Lovely to see you.
But I think that my memory of circle dancing, of course, was when I was a teenager, younger, when we were 10 years old, and we used to dance the horror until all hours. And I just wrote a few words about it. I hope you don't mind. When you're in a circle dance, you're never alone. I think that's terribly important. Dancing is for everybody, and I used to hate it when I was a teenager. When I was a girl, and I used to go to a dance, and there were always girls who hung around because nobody would dance with them. And I always felt it's not right. Everybody should be able to dance, whether they're alone or with somebody. And for me, a circle dance is somewhere where you can come, you can go, you can carry on, you need, if you're tired, you stop. And I think you made a great impression when you came to Israel and on the kibbutz, and I met some of your lovely, lovely friends whom I heard from afterwards too. And this is what I wrote after you had left. The circle dance. Excuse me, but I have to change my glasses. It's the age, you know. Round and round and round they go, bodies swaying to and fro. Each one moves as in a trance, together in the circle dance. Fingers touching without strain, as leaves accept a flower of rain, a shower of rain. Faces glow with a happy chance to be in a circle when they dance. The music, sometimes fast, then slow, the rhythm guides the steps to go. Folk dancers from countries far and wide, they take it all within their stride. Anyone can join, they say. The circle, it is here to stay until the dance is at an end, when the circle breaks, but leaves all friends.
Yep. You really got it in a nutshell there. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for that.
You're very welcome. But it was inspired by you, so I'm so happy to be with you tonight. I can't tell you, and especially as I've been with all a lot of Europeans. I don't know whether you know, but there was a big seminar on the hidden child. So and tomorrow I'm going to Australia, and at least I'm going to Australia, if you know what I mean.
On Zoom.
And so I'm having a most wonderful time. Thank you so much, Stefan, for inviting me.
We've got to connect up like this again.
I haven't seen you for such a long time. It's lovely to see you. I'm not going. I'm staying. It's okay.
Good. So that fits so well with the book. Actually, it puts it in a nutshell. So I was just giving you an overview of chapters, and we'd done the one about digging up roots, as it was called, about the past. I didn't want all the chapters to be too serious, because some of them have got these very serious intention. For example, one called Brain Dance, which is all about the brain and neurological aspects. What happens when you dance inside? So to balance that out, I wanted some light-hearted ones. There's a chapter called Selkie and Centaur. So what on earth is a Selkie, the half seal, half woman from north of Scotland, or a centaur? What has that got to do with dancing? Well, this is how I look at it. Inside all of us, there's an untamed part. We see it much more clearly in children because they're spontaneous. They know how to play. They know how to be in the moment. And as we take on all our responsibilities in life and we have to fit in with society, we spend less time being spontaneous and playful and more time being planning and being dutiful. And sometimes we can even lose touch with that wild, immediate part of us. It goes under, but it never goes away. And you see it sometimes breaks out in terms of violence or in terms of frustration. So what can we do with it that's more useful? How can we integrate it? How can we honor it and enjoy it? And the reason why I chose Selkie and Centaur is because I was thinking of all the mythical creatures which are half human and half something else, like a mermaid, like a faun, a minotaur, you could say a vampire as well. The wildness is married and connected with the humanness, and the two of them have to somehow work out a way to live to make it work. And that is actually the situation we're all in. So the thesis is that in dancing, we've got a way to express and explore all that wild energy and actually make use of it. It fires us up in the dance and we can meet it again in the dance. Some of the dances have themes that help us to meet and greet these parts of us, like a dance I recently made, which is called Selkie. So I just thought it would be nice to contemplate that for a minute as we listen to the Selkie Story, which comes from the north of Scotland. And Jenny, who's very kindly had a big role in this book as my interviewer, and is also an author, by the way, and has just produced a fantastic book called Salsa. So message me if you want to know more about that. Yeah, do hold it up. Dan, no, hold it still. Can't see it. It's moving.
This is the proof copy. The proof copy.
Yeah, that proves it. It's a fictional book, but it really digs deep into the world of salsa and the characters in that world. Jenny played a big role in this book, and her voice was part of the audio version, which I hope we'll be able to produce very shortly. So I'd love you to read a little bit for us.
Okay. In the north of Scotland, there is a widespread story which some will swear they have witnessed, that seals can become human at certain times of year, the springtide, midsummer, full moon, and that on those magical nights they shed their seal skins to sing and dance on the shore. These are called selkies, and there are many folk tales about them. I've asked you to read us one. Okay, that was the intro. That's the intro. That's the intro bit.
Yeah.
Sorry. Nerves, eh? You got an extra bit there.
No, it's lovely. I like organic free range readings.
It's free range, all right. It was full moon and the selkies had come ashore, slipped off their skins and were singing and dancing on the sands. A young man of the village, attracted by their wild cries, crept up to watch them. They danced naked on the beach, pale skin visible in moments of moonlight, and they played music like he had never heard. And one of the young seal women was so beautiful that his heart was lost. So he crawled slower than the tide over to the pile of seal skins at the edge of their party. And he hunted for the softest, smallest, most perfect skin. This must be hers. He rolled it up, shoved it under his jacket, and crawled away to his house overlooking the shore.
Man.
When the party was finished, all the songs sung, all the dances danced, and the morning light threatened in the east, the selkies rushed over to the pile of skins. The selkies found their own skins and pulled them on like capes, swirling round and engulfing their human bodies. They all became seals again and slipped into the sea. all but one, all but the young Selkie girl, naked and shivering, with no sealskin to put on. So she was grateful when the young fisherman appeared in the dawn light with a blanket and took her home for a hot drink and a seat by the fire. And she was convinced by his pretense to search for her sealskin, but of course it was not found, and she had to be content to live in his house by the sea, to hear the smell and watch the waves, but never to swim there again. How sad is that?
Yeah, and I think it rings a bell, and it's a story that is so popular and well known because it does symbolize the human condition. We have so many things that we have to achieve and organize and manage in our lives that in a way we have to put ourselves in that position of where the call of the wild is just, I haven't got time for you right now. I've got to do this. Just wait till I get to the end of my list. But sometimes the list never ends. So I'm looking at dance as a place and a way to reconnect with all that calls to you from that place of nature, that place of great vitality and immediacy that animals probably know every day. I'll just read a few words that I wrote in that chapter in the book. And thank you very much for that reading, Jenny. I love the way you read. The dance brings our cultivated and wild sides together in gleeful cooperation, no longer in denial or at war inside. The dancer experiences the elation of acting in alliance with the instinctive self. This can feel like liberation. It's like the battery human being freed from a mind cage. We could call it the gleeful return of the free-range organic human. I love putting things in a slightly cheeky way. There's a chapter which follows from that, which is called Carousel. Maybe we've got one of Lois's drawings that goes with that carousel chapter. And I was thinking of a playground carousel, a fairground carousel. If you look at the characters there, Lois and I talked about this one, you can see that there's one who's very confident. He's so confident he can stand on a horse, look backwards and wave at his friends. But there's another person there who's hanging on for dear life and definitely isn't looking quite so confident. And then there's a kid who's also facing backwards. He's completely at home on the carousel. So as life takes us up and down, as it always will, because it's never steady and it's always changing, some of us find that most of the ride is enjoyable and that we can take the ups and downs, even the downs, which are the difficult bits, are okay. We know it's going to go up again. But if you've had particular experiences in life that are traumatizing for whatever reason, it might be war, it might be your home circumstances, that confidence gets undermined. And in some cases, trauma is almost as if the wires get fused. We actually lose our ability to come back up. We know what down feels like. And down is a place where you're either hyper vigilant, you're on total alert all the time. It's really hard to rest, sleep, relax, or enjoy anything. Or it may be even deeper underneath that you have unconsciously, to protect yourself, created a kind of a bubble which distances you from your experience. And then sometimes it's hard to come out of that bubble. That bubble stays with you and becomes part of your daily experience. Everything feels a bit muted and numbed. In either case, it's very hard to enjoy life. It's hard to have to abandon yourself to the enjoyable part of relationships or activities, because that previous either shock or series of shocks has left you in that state, very understandably. So I've been very interested in trauma support, trauma healing, and the ways that dance and music can contribute to that. And dance and music are very natural supports for it, because the The problem is not one that can be talked out. It's very deeply wired into the body, into the neurology. The cells and the nerves actually hold the memories, which are not always something that we can access with our minds. So physical activities, and actually the very simplest ones, stretching, swaying, connecting hands, touch, some of the very simplest physical activities are the natural remedies for for mental agitation. They tend to soothe us. They enable us to come into a place where we can feel good about ourselves. And for some people that's a rare experience, and they will say that this dance, this is the place where I am myself, where I can be who I really want to be, or who I feel I really am. So this is developed in certain dances that particularly cultivate themes and music and movements that enable that feeling of security, of solace, of calm to be uppermost. And my observation is that if people do that regularly, if it's part of their lives, our lives, it will actually affect us on the level of our cells, our neurology, our vagus nerve, the central nerve, which controls all these other things and which gives permission for us to relax. These can all be touched by music and by dance. Connected with this chapter, well, I wonder, Elaine, if you can take us into the website. The book has a companion website, as I mentioned, which is dancewise.net. www.dancewise.net. On this companion website, once you see on the home page, if you click onto contributors, you'll see a list of names. So you'll see that the artist Lois Cordelia is there. You can find out more about her and her work. The author and interviewer Jennifer Lynch, who we just heard reading, you can find out more about her there. And on the left, there's a long list of dancers who teach with particular groups. So let's go on to Bernice, since she's here, and let's embarrass her more. Bernice Vetter is near the end. Click onto her. So on everybody that's contributed to the book, there's a page about them, giving you more about their background and their work and where they live and so on. If you scroll up, keep going, keep going, keep going. I scroll down, I mean, or whatever. And at the bottom, if we're lucky, as well as photos, you'll see download file. Click on the download file just above the photos, yeah. And there's an article. So the full article from which I've drawn and quoted in the book is also on the website. So if you've got a particular area of interest within the book that you want to follow up, or a particular person that inspires you, this website will enable you to go further. And I hope you'll consider it almost like the other book. It's a continuation or an extension of the book. And this applies to every teacher that whose work I've included in the book. You'll see, well, just have a look at Bethan Freedman. Yes, we must. So one of the nice things, you get more photos as well of the people. You sort of get to know them a little bit more. And in Bethan's case, you can click on some of her dance choreographies and see them there. So I wanted to point that out. I'm sort of darting around a little bit. I hope you don't mind. It's partly because I'm tired and partly because I like doing things off the cuff. So towards the end of the book, we can come back to us, yeah. Towards the end of the book, it goes into more of how dance might contribute towards world harmony. And June was saying very generously that my work has contributed towards this. Well, it's very hard to measure and to know. It is certainly a hope and an interest of mine in a world where when we talk together and we discuss things, it's very hard to reach general agreement on the level of thoughts and ideas. There are so many different perspectives, and discussion often let's say it's very easy to find that there are different positions, and those positions start to become oppositional. The experience of either singing, playing music, hearing music, or dancing, I put those all in a similar category, is different because it speaks, music and movement speaks to us without really engaging the intellect. It goes into another part of us. It's very much an emotional language. And on that level, on the level of music and dance, the experience is often one of a huge interconnected ocean of people, with each of us being waves on the ocean. The difference doesn't feel important anymore. We can feel the communality. So it's very much, you could say, a balance or an antidote for that sense of fragmentation and separation. And I would love to see dance used consciously and with that intention. Settings, yeah, thank you. I love that. Yeah, all these. Do you see that Lois has done? Each dance are different. So this is unity and diversity. I would love to see dance being used in a context where people are trying to make agreements about the environment, about peace, about trade, because it won't replace the discussion, but it will help us to climb down from our individual and isolated and oppositional standpoints and move towards a feeling of us being one global family that's looking for a solution together. So the last chapters, there's one called Embrace the Shadow, which is rather about the parts of us that we project out onto other groups and other people and say, you're the problem. I haven't got any problems. You're my problem. Embracing the shadow involves noticing the same things inside ourselves. That has not been an easy journey for me, and it's still ongoing. But as we see inside ourselves, yes, let's embrace the shadow. As we see inside ourselves, the same things that we're struggling with out there, we're less inclined to blame and we're more inclined to say, so what can we do to sort it out? What can we do about our anger, our frustration?
I just want to say, Stefan, I think that's an absolutely brilliant picture. I absolutely love it.
Me too.
I like the carousel as well, but that really just jumps out at me. That's gorgeous, isn't it?
Me too. And I made a dance a long time ago called Embrace the Shadow because that theme is very important to me. The last chapter is called Earth Rebirth. It's we look at both the problems that we're facing as a human collective on this planet, and we look at ways forward, because I like to always balance looking at problems with looking at possible steps forward. So the book is about dance, but it stretches out into the whole of all and everything. That's the intention. We're going to sort of do a little bit of a reprise on the seal story. We've got a song that goes with that. We're not going to do the whole song, but part of the song called Andy Ran. Lovely dance by Colin Harrison to this song. So this is a song, a dance, a story, and a theme in the book. And we are going to present it now. If you stay there, it'll be fine, Bethan. Andy Ran solder, Andy Ran solder, the tide at thy head and feet, the wind about thy shoulder. Oh, the song should know thy fame, though the wind bring back thy name, they'll not bring thee home again, that walks the seas in sorrow. And he ran solder,
an irandan soldu the tide at thy head and feet, the wind about thy shoulder. Call the wild and stepping sea, all the way to comfort thee. May she bear thee peacefully the windy world over. Andirandan soda, Andirandan soda, the tide at thy head and feet, the wind about thy shoulder.
And that also kind of, well, it's connected with what I was chatting about, that some of the songs and some of the dances are different from what we normally think of as dancing, because most dancing and most perceptions of dance are it's lively, it's enlivening, it's great fun, it's energetic, and all of those things I appreciate. For example, I love salsa because it's very fiery. But the other dimension which can be explored in dance is this dimension of solace, of soothing, of coming back into your feeling of security, of being centered and grounded. And there are songs like that and movements which facilitate that kind of feeling. When we put them together, potentially we have a balance, we have an integration. Nothing is left out. It's not all meditative, it's not all lively, but everything is there. So I've mentioned a little bit the artist Lois. Initially, her role was I've made short films with her and love her artwork. I said, would you mind doing a cover for my book? And then I said, oh, while you're at it, what about doing a few sketches for the inside? So we've got a sketch for each chapter. And then just when I thought the book was finished, and the lovely man Esbjorn, who's here tonight, who was helping me with the formatting, we just got it down to it was all nicely done. And I said, oh, I'm going to add some exercises. Oh, that was great. So I then thought, oh, Lois, would you mind doing some more drawings for the exercises? So there's actually a lot of Lois's artwork in the book. And she can't be here, but she's made a 5-minute film about her work, which includes her work in the book. And I'd love you to meet Lois and to see her little film, which is delightful.
The wise owl presides over Stefan Freedman's new book, Dance Wise, possibly a surprising choice of imagery for a book about dance. Do owls dance? We'll come on to that later. This is the original painting that I created for the front cover of the book. I was thrilled when Stefan asked me in spring 2020 to create a series of illustrations for his new book. It is always fascinating to witness the evolutionary process of a book's title, script, cover design, layout, and so on. My contribution includes the cover artwork of the owl and the dancing human figures, a series of vignette illustrations for each of the 12 chapters, as well as the freestyle hand lettering. I also did the proofreading, so if you find any spelling or grammatical errors, I'm to blame. My name is Lois Cordelia. I'm based here in Ipswich, UK, as is Stefan. I'm a freelance community artist and speed painter, working in many different mediums, with an emphasis on promoting mental health and well-being, and, where possible, using recycled materials and tools. I've designed and painted many pieces for public art trails around the UK, including our Ipswich Elephant Trail last summer 2019. I use my GoPro action camera to give you an artist's eye view of the creative process. I hope you'll find these insights inspiring in your own creative journey in dance, art, or otherwise. Dance is a huge part of my life. I dance freestyle as the spirit or the music moves me. Most of my artwork is directly or indirectly inspired by the expressive freedom of movement that I find in dance. Dance Wise has 12 chapters, a zodiac of chapters you might say. Stefan asked me to create a vignette illustration for the start of each one. These begin as loose sketches, which I then trace and refine just a little, not too much. It's really important for me to preserve the freestyle dancing energy that inspired them. I apply this same freestyle energetic approach to my speed painting. This owl took shape in the space of 45 minutes, late one night, using bold colours and iridescent paints that gleam in the light of my halogen lamp. Both Stefan and I are self-confessed night owls, so yes, for the record, owls do dance. Stefan and I have previously collaborated on a number of music, art, film and fundraising projects, including Malka, a film dedicated to refugee children, which has travelled around the globe since its Ipswich premiere in 2016 and been screened at more than a dozen international film festivals. More recently, we collaborated on Land of No Today, a 75th birthday tribute song to Bob Marley, premiered in Ipswich in February 2020, a few weeks before lockdown. Both Malka and Land of No Today have inspired their own dance choreographies. Stefan and I are also both connected with local Ipswich and Suffolk-based charity Inside Out Community, promoting arts for mental health and well-being. Inside Out Community is one of the case studies referenced in Stefan's new book to demonstrate the healing potential of dance. I hope you'll be as inspired as I am by the themes, imagery and messages of Dance Wise. Dance Wise is now available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle ebook form. Why not order your copy today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been lovely to have collaborators in this project. And Lois is someone I really enjoy working with. You can see she's an inspiring and inspired person. Lois Cordelia, you'll find her online and you'll find a whole section about her on our website. So there are other people here, and I'm embarrassed to say, Gergana, I know you've got your mic muted, so you probably can't answer, but I don't know if I'm saying your name right. But I was sent a wonderful article as a contribution to this book about the dancing in Bulgaria and the significance that it has for people taking part in terms of their identity, in terms of their confidence, in terms of their resilience, even in times of invasion, to be able to keep their sense of community together. So I wondered, Elaine, do you mind just going back into the website just so we can have another little look? There's also Jen Lana here tonight, who's one of the contributors in the book, and I don't know if we'll have time to see them all. But just have a little look at the page for Gergana, and when you're near the bottom, Panova, when the mics are switched back on, you can correct my pronunciation of your name. I'm sure I've not got it quite right, but look at this lovely. I mean, I just immediately want to dance with you just seeing the photos, and it was ever so helpful and clarifying to see the significance that people place on dancing in a traditional context. And if you go back up to contributors index, oh, by the way, the full article that Gergana sent me is available there on that page. Go to Jen Lana, right in the middle there, Jen Lana. Now, Jen luckily lives near to me, so I was able to go with her and witness her teaching a group of people who'd had strokes and were in recovery, and were joining in the dancing. Some were wheelchair users, and I was very inspired by the way that you adapted the dances, and also the way that you greeted each person first, so that even the people that couldn't express themselves so much in movement were feeling included and feeling seen, which is so important. Yeah, yes, have a quick look. So there's an article by Jen that actually fleshes out the experiences that I quote in the book. And I wanted to, I'm really pleased you're here so I can tell you this, because people buying the book, I want you to see it also as a portal towards this website, and the two combined actually contain a great deal of in-depth experience from many people. I'm very honored to have been able to coordinate that. So there's a chapter near the end called Time and Timelessness. I gave it that title because I am very interested in the way that I know I keep saying music and dance, sometimes listening to music and sometimes dancing, and especially when I love the music and the dance, my sense of time is different. Normally, my sense of time is something that I'm chasing. I can never catch up with it. I need more time. I'm short of time. When I'm dancing, sometimes time seems to stop. It's more like a timeless experience. So Bethan's going to read a couple of extracts from that chapter of the book.
This is from Dancewise, chapter 11, Time and Timelessness. What do birds experience when flocking in beautiful formations? We may never know, but sometimes when dancing, I'm reminded of their dazzling geometries. Circling in rhythm, we can imagine the universal force that whirls electrons around protons and planets around suns. Scientists have found that at every level, the universe is based on spinning torus shapes, something like revolving donuts. To dance in a circle is to reconnect with the universal blueprint, a continuous revolution which our bodies know intuitively. We step out of isolation and learn how to flock. It can feel like reconnecting with a continuum, with a current of life, with cycles of nature, geology, and history. We may start to lose some of our hard edges and to feel as if joined up with connecting pieces in a jigsaw puzzle. During such timeless times, we are in the zone. When there is a natural silence at the end of a dance, this lightness of being stretches deliciously. Habitual time pressure is replaced by a sense of unbounded spaciousness.
Thank you for that. In a couple of minutes, I'm going to give you a 5-minute comfort break. And just to develop from what Bethan was reading, one of the rather unusual things about the circle dance approach to dancing is that very often at the end of the dance, there's a silence. I like all kinds of dancing, and it would be very rare to find that at a dance party or at a salsa or tango class or zumba or almost anything. It would seem strange. It would seem spooky maybe. But I've come to relish those silent times, because that feeling of timeless spaciousness that can sometimes get more and more you get more and more caught up with it during the dance. When the dance finishes, you don't want the spell to break. In fact, it's very lovely to just be able to digest it and internalize it and not be rushed into the next thing. So there does seem to be a kind of widespread consensus that the silence is an integral part of the dance experience when you do it with that intention. So for 5 minutes, I hope you'll come back again.
Sorry, Stefan, you've had some lovely comments in the chat.
I'll have a look.
Love your words, and obviously they will go when the Zoom ends, so it might be nice to have a look at that.
Oh yes.
Can you? I don't know. I have to put my glasses on.
Yeah.
Can you read it?
Oh, you're amazing at public speaking. Yay! It's a very friendly public.
Oh, Julia.
I love the Seal song, Stefan and
Do
Bethan.
you?
I loved it very much, and I remember maybe, yes, And my first introduction at Findhorn, maybe 30 years ago, to dance was a choreography to that very scene.
Oh, yes.
I remember so well, and it hooked me. It was that one song that drew me in.
It's very soulful, and that was Colin Harrison's choreography. I don't know if everybody's heard of or some have met Colin Harrison. He's one of the sort of daddies of circle dance who, at a certain point, really took it out from Findhorn into a much wider sphere because he felt it belonged to the world. He had a role in our lives and everybody's.
Colin Harrison was the first person who taught dance when I was introduced to it. At a place called Lois Farm. People know.
Oh, yes, I've been there. Swindon, near Swindon. Yeah, I stayed there.
Colin introduced me to circle dance.
Oh, really?
How great! He was one of the seed scatterers, and very much loved by us. Yeah, he also loved to sing and do live music for the dancing with his partner. Yeah. I'm going to play a tune for a minute while people come back. So this lovely little beastie is a melodeon. It's got buttons on every side, no keyboards at all. When you squeeze in or press out, you get different notes.
Captain Cookwash.
Carousel, life is a carousel, swirling round up and down, galloping high on silver horses. Carousel, life is a carousel, and it would be so well if I could ride on a horse next to you. Carousel, life is a carousel, and it would ring my bell if I could ride on a horse next to you. That was one of my earliest choreographies, and do you know where the tune came from?
Tales of the Unexpected.
Absolutely, yes, unexpectedly. Unexpectedly. I always loved that tune, but when I played it on the squeeze box, it sounded much jollier, and the dance is quite upbeat.
Unexpected, good job.
Yeah, I was just suggesting, just a suggestion, because it's taken me a while to be emotionally prepared to change, but Zoom is opening doors of possibility, and if you've got an interest, let's say it's storytelling, you might find that through Zoom you can connect with a very international group of people who are on your wavelength, and to some extent feel that sense of community that we're missing. It's not such a tactile community, but it is a lovely sort of international community that we can access that way. So just to summarize about the book and draw it to a conclusion, this book, do I still have it? Where is it?
I gave it to you.
This here volume is now available in paperback on Amazon. And I totally understand and sympathize with people, including people here who say, Amazon and I do not have conversations. I do not talk to them. So if you feel that way, order it from me. I'm very happy to send you a copy. Or if you'd really like a signed copy or a message on it, order it from me. I should be getting my author copies within the next week. But I'm hoping that not everybody will, because I've got so many creative projects that I want to get on with, and I don't want to be spending my days stuffing envelopes. So I kind of leave it up to you to find the balance according to how strongly you feel about it. If you can bear the thought of ordering it from Amazon, it will save me from having to parcel it up and go to the post office. I'll leave it up to you, and I really don't mind. You know what's right for you. If you order several copies from me, the postage will be the same. So that amounts to a very small discount. And the price is just the same as Amazon, which is £9.95, or the equivalent in dollars or whatever currency.
Euros.
Yeah, other currencies. So I really appreciate you joining me this evening. And I love the intergenerational aspects that my aunt is here, my grandson Zane is here, friends going back to school days, friends from all over the world. Did I mention all the countries? I might have said them already. I did already, yes. I might have missed out Bulgaria, actually. Gergana from Bulgaria. So, yeah, just to draw it to a close, we can't picture quite how the future is going to pan out in our ongoing relationship with COVID and our attempts to find our way back to a sense of community. We don't really know. So we can't tell in advance how much dance gatherings are going to be viable. But I am just planting all the seeds for the future that I would like to see and hoping, because that's the way with seeds. You never know, not every seed will grow, but it's worth planting them because some of them will. So we seed the best future that we can with our thoughts and intentions and actions, and go forward with hope. So big thank you to Elaine for orchestrating behind the scenes. Are there any pictures that we didn't get a chance to show?
Yes. Sure.
Just a little bit more of Lois's internal artwork in the book. Yeah.
Love that.
One of the dance exercises is about cathartic dance, shaking and stomping. And another one is about dancing very serenely, slowly swaying, but in both cases in an improvised way, in a free way. And I wasn't sure which of those to use the picture for, but you could use it for either of those. Was that the last illustration?
One more.
One more, great. Oh yes, the
Yes.
chapter about Selkie and Centaur was all about embracing the wild and celebrating it and finding a very positive connection with the wildness inside us. And I loved Lois's drawing for that. Really love it. You'll find that in the book also.
Yeah, I like the dragon.
Yeah. So also great appreciation to June Watts, who has not only been here this morning and this evening to introduce me, but she's been an emotional support through the process, and she wrote the most lovely, encouraging review early on, which helped me to keep going when I was struggling with all the technical bits at the end. And her partner Esbjorn, are you still here, Esbjorn? I'm trying to see if he is. Esbjorn was my formatter. And normally, when you do the formatting, the guy is not still writing the book. I thought I'd finished, and I kept saying, oh yeah, but I've just written a bit more. So he was very, very patient and kind with me, and we got there. So big thanks to Esbjorn, and big thanks to all of you, because everybody here in some way has played a role in our lives. Some of you are friends from decades, and you've all been part of the landscape that has supported us and enabled us to live just a very, very satisfying life. Zane, we're really honoured that you're here. It's so important to have the young generation present. Yay. Can you sit up a little higher? I've lost your chin. Fantastic.
Yeah, there you are.
Yay.
Right.
Yay. What a handsome grandson we have. And there's
Luciana.
Yeah.
My daughter there.
These are the glamorous people in our family. Fantastic. And I don't know, Aunt Evelyn, are you still here? She may have needed to go, but that was such a nice last minute surprise to have my aunt do a cameo poem appearance. So we're going to say, wish you lots of love, wish you good night. And when we, after that, we're going to unmute people. So if you feel like hanging out for 5 minutes to say goodbye or say any message to a friend, you've got that freedom. Thank you so much for launching the book with me.
Story